Bruce was a programmer and worked from home for one of the largest online companies. He loved his job, but he didn't have much free time. He started work at 10 in the morning and had to sit in front of the computer until 8 in the evening. Because of that, he didn't have many friends, and he wasn't fortunate in love relationships, so he had to relax and have fun alone. Bruce went to bed at 10 o'clock every night, and before going to sleep he watched Markiplier videos where one of the most famous YouTubers in the world played scary games. This was Bruce's daily routine, and you might be surprised, but he was also feeling quite happy until one evening, he fell asleep in front of his laptop, very tired from working. When he woke up with his head on the keyboard, he wondered how he didn't break it. The clock showed 11:30 at night. Bruce was nervous. He knew he had a lot of work to do, and he couldn't stand breaking his routine. But what other choice did he have? He had to finish all the work he had planned for the day before midnight, so he went to the kitchen, poured coffee into his favorite mug, which his ex-girlfriend had given him, and returned to his desk. Behind his computer screen was a large window, which Bruce really liked. Whenever his eyes got tired from work, he used to look in that window and enjoy the beautiful view of his neighborhood. However, at night, almost nothing could be seen on the street, and complete darkness reigned there. Bruce lived in a quiet neighborhood, that's why hardly anyone walked on the street at night. Half an hour passed, and Bruce's coffee cup was already empty. Since he was used to going to bed early at night, his brain wasn't working at full power this late, and Bruce was slowly drifting off to sleep, although he was woken up by the sound of a car horn coming from the exact street that Bruce could see from his window. Someone outside was honking, making a terrible noise, and not stopping. That's why the angry boy stood up and looked out the window. Bruce was startled. His eyes widened as there was a school bus on his street. A school bus so late? He thought, though, that was not the reason for his fear. He could clearly see that someone was sitting on the bus, looking directly at him and waving. His face was not visible, more like a black silhouette, although it was obvious that he was looking at her. The bus also stopped beeping after Bruce stood up. For the next minute, the stranger continued to wave his hand, and the frightened boy stared at him without blinking, trying to recognize his face. Then the strange bus driver lowered his hand, looked ahead, and left his seat. That night the bus didn't show up. Bruce finished his work and went to bed. Although he was very sleepy, he still couldn't stop thinking about the strange stranger from the street. Finally, he fell asleep. The next day, he didn't even remember the incident of the previous night, because, as usual, he had a lot of work. He spent the whole day just doing the given tasks, and since he didn't fall asleep on the keyboard in the middle of the process today, he got to work early. Traditionally, as soon as it was 9 o'clock in the evening, he turned on YouTube on his laptop and started watching Markiplier. The 40-minute gameplay was coming to an end, and the boy was taking a melatonin pill to sleep better when he heard a loud car horn from the street again. Bruce immediately stood up, which was immediately followed by the car horn going off. Outside, there was the same bus again, with the same driver, who this time was waving at the more frightened boy. Bruce mustered up the courage to open the window and call out to the stranger. He asked who he was and what the hell he wanted, but the stranger kept waving his hand as usual. Bruce then yelled at him that if he didn't stop, he was going to call the police, and the bus driver immediately put his hand down and drove off. As soon as the bus was out of sight, Bruce closed the window and locked every door and window in the house. The melatonin worked, and he was very relaxed, although he had trouble falling asleep because he couldn't stop thinking about the strange bus. At 2 o'clock in the morning, he was awakened by something. At first, he did not understand what it was, but it sounded like a knock. At first, he thought he was in a dream, that's why he didn't pay much attention to him, but then he opened his eyes and was more scared than ever. Outside his window, there was a black, smiling silhouette, knocking on Bruce's window with his finger.